The episode begins with a mysterious, hooded figure standing by a lake, watching intently. This figure carries a futuristic weapon slung over his shoulder, and his face remains concealed behind a mask. As he follows the path of a drone, he watches it crash into the lake and immediately rushes towards it. Simultaneously, the drone releases mysterious, glimmering threads into the water. These threads rapidly start branching out, forming increasingly intricate networks. Before long, the threads shape the entire body of our protagonist, Ezra. As Ezra comes to life, the drone starts implanting memories into his brain. He recalls meeting and marrying a woman named Lynn, having a daughter named Kylie, and gets glimpses of an alien invasion on Earth and the desperate measures taken to survive. Suddenly, Ezra awakens, unaware that he's submerged in water, and begins to drown. Gathering his senses, he swims towards the rocky shore while the drone continues scanning his brain activity. Disoriented, Ezra tries to flee, but the drone shoots a dart into his neck, assessing his physiology. The drone processes the data and verifies Ezra's identity. As Ezra looks around, he notices the remains of an alien spaceship and tall buildings amidst the vast desert, realizing that escape is futile. Soon, a man and a woman emerge from the lake in the same manner he did. The man is startled by his reflection in the lake, surprised by his appearance. The drone continues to hover around the three bewildered humans, shooting another dart into the man's neck. The drone reveals that the man's name is Abram, and the three introduce themselves. The woman, Fina, asks how they got there, but none of them can remember. When Ezra shows them the ruins, Fina quickly identifies them as a Carrack spaceship, the same type used by the aliens that attacked Earth. As they discuss what might have happened, they realize that each of them has a different timeline for the invasion. Adding to the mystery, Abram claims to be 67 years old but appears no older than 25. Their conversation is interrupted by the drone, which reveals the harsh truth. They are on Earth, 400 years after the Carrack, an alien empire, invaded and wiped out the human race. Everyone they knew and loved is dead, but their bodies have been reconstituted and their genes modified to adapt to the current world. Unbeknownst to them, the mysterious hooded figure is spying on them closely as they ask the drone more questions. The drone explains that they were resurrected with the help of sparks, biological weavers that meticulously rebuild human beings from the elements around them. The drone promises to help them revive the human race and tells them about the settlement, where other humans have also been reborn. With the hope of seeing their loved ones again, the three gather their supplies, collect the sparks from the lake into a canister, and follow the drone. Along the way, we see flashbacks of Ezra's life during the invasion. He and his wife struggle to find their way out of Washington as the navigation system fails. After buying a map, Ezra promises his family that he will protect them. Meanwhile, Fina remains secretive about her past life, despite Abram's attempts to encourage her to share. They eventually arrive at a location with large metal rings jutting out from the ground. However, they are not alone. The mysterious hooded figure is closely following them, weapon at the ready. Excited by his rejuvenated body, Abram rushes ahead to the metal rings, leaving the others behind. He finds strange symbols carved into the rings and, without thinking, touches one, only to be electrocuted. Fortunately, he survives and explains that he saw vivid images when he touched the symbol. Suddenly, a bullet takes down the drone, and a dart hits Abram in the shoulder, causing him to collapse. The mysterious stranger, armed with a pistol, is relentlessly hunting down the trio. Ezra, with his clever deception, outsmarts the stranger, leading to his capture. It's then that we meet Jax, a skin rider with a glowing parasite on his neck, something he refers to as his companion. Jax remains tight-lipped about the symbols on the ring but is clear about his desire for the sparks. As Ezra becomes distracted by a familiar symbol on the ring, the stranger seizes the opportunity, knocking Ezra down and reclaiming his weapon. However, Fina is quick to react, pointing the pistol at the stranger, demanding he drops the weapon. The stranger, dismissive of her abilities, is taken aback when Fina confidently loads the gun and aims it directly at him. They manage to subdue him, but before they can leave, Jax offers Ezra a deal. He can lead him to his brother. A quick flashback shows Ezra picking up his younger brother, Silas, just as the Carrack spaceships begin their assault on Earth. In the present, the trio heads toward the settlement, leaving Jax tied up. Unbeknownst to them, skin riders can communicate through the parasites on their necks, and soon, 3 other skin riders arrive to free Jax. In a shocking twist, one of the Skin Riders is revealed to be none other than Silas, who now knows his brother is alive. Meanwhile, the trio finds refuge in a cave. Later that night, Abram develops a high fever due to his wound, leaving them with no choice but to drag him to a small puddle and release the sparks. The next morning, Fina wakes up to find Abram completely healed. The cave they rested in contains a tunnel that cuts through the hills, shortening their path. After a brief conversation between Fina and Ezra, where she hints at a less than honorable past, they continue toward a jungle. Suddenly, the Skin Riders track them down and give chase. Ezra stays behind to distract them, allowing Fina and Abram to run toward the settlement. Ezra is ambushed by Silas, who approaches menacingly with the intent to turn him into a Skin Rider. At the settlement, Fina and Abram manage to get through a heavily barricaded door. A drone emerges, taking out two pursuing Skin Riders, and then swoops in to rescue Ezra from Silas. Thanks to the settlement's protective barrier, the Skin Riders cannot approach, and the humans are safe, for now. Inside the settlement, they quickly realize things are far from perfect. The place appears deserted, and Ezra discovers a bracelet with the same symbol he saw on the metal ring. In a flashback, we see that Ezra, Silas, Lynn, and his daughter Kylie reached their parents' house after escaping the Carrick attack. However, the house is empty, except for a box containing a mysterious snail shell-shaped object with the same symbol. The episode ends with the drone showing them 134 graves inside the settlement's compound. The second episode begins with a flashback of Ezra and Silas watching as Washington burns during the alien attack. Back at their cabin, Ezra tells Lynn that he's going to find his parents. With telecommunication down, Lynn hesitates to let him go alone and asks him to take Silas. However, Ezra sees Silas as someone who can't fend for himself, which has caused tension between the brothers. In the present, Ezra bangs on the heavy metal door with a rod after realizing there are no survivors in the settlement. The yellow drone leads them into the bunkers, revealing that it's been there for a year, arriving just after the previous human settlers died from an infectious disease. To their horror, they discover they've been infected too, as Fina begins bleeding from her nose. The only hope lies in the sparks. Creating a vaccine to build immunity, but for that, they need to venture to a nearby lake, all while avoiding the Skin Riders. As Fina weakens, she stays behind while the two men set out with the yellow drone. Outside the settlement, a man named Duncan is chased and caught by Skin Riders. Silas questions why Duncan's parasite isn't responding to calls from other Skin Riders. Seeing that Duncan's parasite is weak, they take him back to their camp. As the Skin Riders return, they learn that two humans have left the settlement's shield and are heading north. Silas forces Duncan to lead the chase, a decision Jax reluctantly supports. Meanwhile, the two men question the yellow drone on their way to the lake, trying to figure out who's controlling the drones and the sparks. The drone remains tight-lipped but hints at someone mysterious pulling the strings. The drone flies high to keep watch while the men continue forward. We learn that Ezra was a soldier before the invasion, while Abram was a psychiatric therapist. They reach the lake and release the sparks into the water to produce the vaccine. Back at the settlement, Fina tries to repair the red drone but begins to rapidly weaken as blood drips from her nose and ears. She passes out, only to wake up to a blonde woman watching over her, Lynn, Ezra's wife. However, Fina quickly realizes that Lynn is just a holographic AI projection sent by the red drone to assist her. As Fina's condition worsens, the AI Lynn asks the red drone to project someone familiar to Fina. Surprisingly, Duncan appears in the projection, offering her help. Meanwhile, at the lake, Ezra confesses that one of the Skin Riders is his brother Silas. He hopes the sparks can rid Silas of the parasite, but Abram cautions that Silas might no longer see Ezra as a brother. Their conversation is cut short when the yellow drone warns of approaching Skin Riders. The drone advises them to follow a scout drone back to the settlement while it hides the sparks in the water. The men separate, with Abram following the scout drone while Ezra ambushes Silas from behind. But Ezra underestimates the parasite's ability to communicate with its companions, and he's quickly surrounded by Jax and his men, who take him hostage. Ezra wakes up in the Skin Riders' makeshift camp, patrolled by his brother. Silas's speech reveals that the Skin Riders are part of a cult-like group that believes the parasite frees them from humanity's primitive intellect. A flashback shows Ezra searching for his parents when he stumbles upon a crashed alien ship. A pink fume from the wreckage partially blinds him, but Silas finds him and takes him back to the cabin. In the present, Ezra tries to convince Silas to come with him so the sparks can heal him and apologizes for his past actions. As the parasite's influence wanes, the human side of Silas gestures for Ezra to flee. Ezra takes the chance, escaping back to the lake where he reunites with Abram. They gather the vaccine, extra medicine, and some seaweed for food before rushing back to the settlement. The episode ends with Fina waking up in the settlement's living quarters as the vaccine begins to heal her. The third episode opens with Fina in the middle of a battlefield as Carrack battleships target humans below. She sees Duncan injured and hiding behind a car and cries out for help. The scene quickly shifts back to the settlement, revealing that Fina is reliving these events in her dreams. Meanwhile, the yellow drone urges Abram to explore the settlement. They soon find a door sealed shut with scaffoldings, emitting a bright white light. The drone encourages Abram to investigate further. A flashback reveals Fina's past, along with her fiancé and business partner, Gregory Palmer. Fina scammed thousands of people in an elaborate business scheme. While Gregory fled, she served 6 years in Seattle prison. Immediately after she is released, she meets FBI Special Agent James Duncan and asks him to help her find Gregory. Unmoved by her effort to correct her mistakes, Duncan flatly refuses. In the present day, Ezra shows Fina the bracelet he found in the courtyard with the same symbol they saw at the rings and tells her that he saw the symbol in his parents' house during the invasion. Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted by Abram, who impatiently asks them to come with him. Next, we see that Abram has actually pulled out all the scaffoldings from the locked door he found earlier. Disregarding Ezra's warnings, he abruptly opens the door, saying he feels like the door must be opened. Inside, they find a huge stone pillar called the Obelisk, which starts communicating with Abram. Meanwhile, in the Skin Rider camp, Silas throws the recently captured Duncan in a cell. He informs the deserter that they will heal his companion and bring him under control once more. Later, he forces Duncan to spar with Jax, who is the biggest and strongest among the Skin Rider community. To the surprise of everyone watching, Duncan easily overpowers the latter with his faster movements. This is because the presence of the parasite causes delays in the transfer of messages from the brain to the body and gives an advantage to humans during combat. Silas suggests that the only way to overcome this is through a complex brain surgery for which they need a drone. Back at the settlement, Abram starts getting messages from the obelisk through symbols that appear and disappear on its surface. He reveals that whoever is on the other end of the obelisk wants them to bring a weapon buried east of the settlement in exchange for bringing back more humans from the dead. Initially, Ezra is completely against this contract but relents after Fina tells him that more humans are necessary if they want to survive. Hence, the yellow drone and Ezra, equipped with a bow and arrows, head out to find the weapon. On the way, Ezra expresses his suspicion that the drone purposefully led Abram to the door. In response, the drone gives vague answers, deflecting the questions about whatever forces created it and the sparks. In a flashback scene, we see that Duncan agrees to help Fina catch Gregory Palmer, and the two start working together. Fina, being an expert on cybersecurity, manages to track him down to Singapore and tips the FBI. In the meantime, the yellow drone leads Ezra to the spot where the weapon is buried. Unbeknownst to both of them, he is being watched by a Skin Rider scout from afar who alerts the others. While he is digging for the weapon, the drone reveals that underneath is a powerful weapon designed to kill Skin Riders. Shocked, Ezra says he can't fetch the weapon because it might mean killing his brother, too. But the drone convinces him that the only way to rid the human body of the parasite is by killing both of them. Seeing no other option, Ezra retrieves the weapon. Back at the Skin Rider camp, Jax, along with a few of his men, leaves to catch Ezra and the drone for their brain experiment. Meanwhile, Silas forces Duncan to drink the springs-infested water, compelling it to heal Duncan's injured companion. In the meantime, at the settlement, Fina has more conversations with Lynn's AI hologram and realizes that she is Ezra's wife. While discussing their personal lives, they finally fix the red drone. A little while later, Fina expresses her desire to bring Duncan back, not knowing that he is already a Skin Rider. Clearly emotional, she wants to apologize for what she did to him. The next scene takes us back to Ezra. Suddenly, the drone blares out a warning that the Skin Riders are coming, and they run for their lives but are ambushed quickly. Outnumbered, Ezra hands the weapon to the Skin Riders, who have no idea what it can do. Surely enough, the skin rider who touches it immediately drops dead. Taking advantage of the distraction, Ezra beats the others and manages to flee back to the settlement with a little help from the drone. Inside the settlement, we see that Ezra still doesn't trust the obelisk, while Abram seems to be completely under its spell. In an effort to coerce our hero, the obelisk shows him the AI hologram of his wife and suggests that it could bring her and their daughter back. The third episode ends, and we are brought back to the same flashback scene that opened the episode. Fina is crying out for help as Duncan lies injured. Suddenly, from a blinding light, the red drone descends, darts her on the neck, and scans her brain for all the memories. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave 1000 likes or 100 comments if you'd like us to continue part 2. Thank you.